40 for Rateable Crest Titans.
Welcome to the special stage rally show in association with the Mini Rally Challenge. Coming up in tonight's show, we've got action from the Irish Tarmac Rally Championship, from the MGJ Engineering Circuit Rally Championship, but right now we're at another ceremonial start in a town centre before a round of the Pro Tyre BTRDA Rally Championship. More atmosphere, more opportunities to get crowds and spectators and casual observers up close to rally cars and rally drivers. And because the show usually starts with me, I thought this time, come with me. We would start tonight's show with a couple of names that don't normally start our show. Or three names that don't normally start our show. You see them on our coverage plenty, but we don't normally grab them at the beginning of a show. Callum, Jack, James, here we are, beginning of another rally and another town centre start. This is what it's all about.
It is, and it's Welsh stages this time, so exciting, really excited, yeah, definitely.
Hell of a season for you this year. You've really thrown it all on red, haven't you?
Yeah, we bought a car, bought a truck, got a team together. Yeah, I owe the debt on it, but no, I'm just looking forward to getting out in the car, learning it, and you know, really trying to make a mark on British rallying this year if we can. So appreciate the sport, and I like the colour as well on the mic. It's good.
Yeah, it goes with the car, doesn't it? Sorry, Callum, we could have stood in front of the Palace Connections Fiesta, but here we are in front of the Orange Amplifiers Hyundai. Great season ahead. You are our reigning asphalt rally champions, both of you, and now on the gravel for the VRC and obviously the Pro Tyre BTRDA as well. How exciting to be out in front of the fans.
Yeah, no, really looking forward to it. It's been a year, I think, for both of us since we've been on gravel, so obviously really enjoyed doing the asphalt series, and now looking forward to the challenge of doing the VRC, so should be fun, quite challenging, but some of the best stages in the world, you could argue, so yeah, looking forward to it.
He says that, Jack. These stages are about the longest stages you'll probably do this season, particularly on gravel with the 60 stage miles here this weekend. That makes it a new challenge.
Yeah, it does, especially tomorrow afternoon when you've got the 13 mile and the just shy of 16 mile. It's going to be really sort of hard to sort of keep the pressure. Yeah,
Drink to water his mouth just to help him get the words out as well.
There's that many notes going on. At least I don't have as many useless notes as he does, but there's a lot of notes going on, so we'll be speaking a lot. But no, we're both really looking forward to it. Like we were saying today, that there probably isn't better gravel stages in the UK than we've been on today in the recce. So no, we're both really looking forward to it. Like going to be racing against good mates and that, so yeah, let's have it tomorrow.
Good luck, fellas. I like that. Let's have it tomorrow. Just have a look round here. They are some of our competitors here getting ready for this Rallynuts Severn Valley Stages Rally, which is the second round of the Pro Tyre BTRDA Rally Championship. It's also the second round of the British Rally Championship, and the Pirelli Welsh Rally Championship is here as well. It's an all-star cast. It is a bumper entry, and we've got rally cars, rally fans, and people everywhere, and that is exactly how we like it. Shall we go to the action on the stages?
What a difference a day makes. From the nice evening of the ceremonial start to the thick fog out on the stages. It was cold as well, make no mistake. This year's Rallynuts Severn Valley Stages was going to be a test for the crews and for the TV crew for that matter. It would be Oshan Price and Rodri Evans though coming out on top on the stages on the first of those tests, leading by 11 seconds at the midway point. That lead would be over Chris Ingram and Alex Kiarani. This pair coming here with maximum BRC points, but they were struggling a little with the car in these slippery gravel stages this weekend. William Crichton and Liam Regan were on the pace from the start and showing that they knew what to do with that M Sport Fiesta. It didn't take them long to get there as well. Only a small number of rallies under their belts. For now, it will be third place, just 6.3 seconds back from Ingram. This season had been a bit of a mixed bag for Keith Cronin and Mikey Galvin. Things were going well in the Irish Tarmac Championship, but the same couldn't be said for the British Rally Championship. They were lying in fourth place for now. It wasn't a million miles off the pace, but it wasn't the lead that they'd rather be challenging for. For Gary Pearson and Dan Barrett, it would be fifth place on the overall leaderboard. They did briefly drop back, but got themselves back into that fifth spot by the midpoint of the rally. It would be close though. Popular Welshman James Williams, Ross Whittock alongside were not far behind. Just 0.8 of a second in fact. And they'd be looking to change that in the afternoon if they could. Matthew Hurst and Declan Deer will be the first of our BTRDA and Welsh Championship crews on the order at this stage. The crews up ahead, of course, having done a recce of the stages, whereas the BTRDA and Welsh crews hadn't. So they were going well in 7th place overall. Myron Evans and Jonathan Jackson bring that Castrol Yaris out for its UK gravel debut. And it certainly looked the part in gravel trim, didn't it? Well, of what you could see of it in the fog anyway. They end the morning with 8th place overall, getting some good development miles in this weekend. Back to the BTRDA runners, and it would be Elliot Payne and Patrick Walsh who lie second in the championship order at this stage. They were also contesting the BRC, but opted not to do a recce, meaning that they can score both BRC and BTRDA points, trying of course to defend that double and record-breaking title win in the Gold Star. And rounding out the top 10 at this stage were Rhys Yates and Craig Drew. Rhys back after a long time out of the seat, enlisting Craig this weekend. A lot of experience inside that car. The pair settling back in well in the Polo. We saw Callum Black and Jack Morton at the start of the show excited for these fantastic stages here in Wales and looking forward to a big push on them, but frustratingly they wouldn't get to see them at all. They had a fuel pump issue before the start of the rally and got it fixed, but a bolt on the new one would shear off through the morning stages, putting them out of the event. Bitterly disappointing. Let's take a look at some of the positions outside of the top 10 leaderboard, and it would be the B13 lead for Russ Thompson and Stephen Link. Probably as we'd all expected, given how well they go. They'd had a good battle going on in the class as well, though, only leading by 6 seconds. And that lead would be over this man, Rob Wilson, Martin Haggart alongside. The Ravenel pair clearly pushing that Evo hard and keeping the times close. The fight would be on as they use these stages for the second time in the afternoon and have a bit of an idea what to expect, or so they thought. There was a lot of interest in the Rallynuts Severn Valley Stages rally this weekend, and some of it was international. Josh Verstappen and Renaud Jamal make their gravel rally debut on the Rallynuts Stages. The former Formula One star understandably settling in a little over the morning in taking his time to be on the pace, but to be in 15th position on that overall leaderboard at this stage was a great debut. A little further down the overall standings would be the historic crews, but leading the way there would be a hard-charging Seb Perez. Gary McElhaney alongside out in the Porsche this weekend and taking the fight to the usual escort dominant suspects. The trusty escorts weren't sidelined just yet though. Joe Price and Chris Brooks keeping the Porsche crew honest and ending the morning just 1.9 seconds back after 4 stages. And it would be the fan favourite combination, TR7 V8 and Mark Higgins with Phil Pugh alongside, who lie third after stage 4. They hadn't had the best of luck on the previous round in mid-Wales, putting the car into a ditch on their debut combo. But they'd be looking for a finish here this weekend. It wasn't stopping them from throwing the car around on the stages, though, as we were delighted with. It would be a familiar sight at the top of the BTRDA Bronze Star. Nigel and Kaz Jenkins leading the way there from 55th place overall. Once again enjoying a good battle in that bright green NJ Auto Repairs Nova in those positions. That battle would now be with Steve Black and James Aldridge. Steve back in the car now after son Callum took it out on the Malcolm Wilson rally to good effect back in March, you may remember. So the morning stage is complete. Plenty of action, plenty of drama, and surprisingly plenty of fog. Let's remind ourselves of the overall leaderboard and how it's shaping up after 4 stages. On to the afternoon stages then here at the Rallynuts Severn Valley Stages Rally, and it would all be changed in the Bronze Star Ashley Francis Adams and Mark Ammons jump up the order to take second place in the category. There'd be a change at the top as well. With Jenkins Nova dropping down the results, it would mean it's victory for Steve Black and James Aldridge. An ideal outcome for the pair this weekend. No change as far as the top of the historic cruise leaderboard was concerned. Mark Higgins and Phil Pugh managing to get that TR7 V8 to the end of the rally, something that they and David Appleby Engineering needed after disappointment last time out. They end the rally 23rd position overall as well. Second in the historics, though, would be Joe Price and Chris Brooks. Well deserved as well. They pushed our leaders throughout the day to stay in touch, but they'd miss out on that victory by just 5 seconds. Therefore, taking victory was Seb Perez and Gary McElhaney in the Amigos Tequila Beer sponsored Porsche. It's not often we see something on the top step that isn't an escort in this championship, so it was great to see a new challenger for victories. George Verstappen and Renald Jamal make their loose service debut here in the UK count. They get to the finish with 11th place overall, just missing out on a top 10 finish. We're on to that top 10 then. After a pretty foggy afternoon, the stage is looking very different. It would be 10th place for Russ Thompson and Stephen Link. They drop back in the B13 fight, ending the day a surprising second in the class. And that means it's a very impressive class victory for Rob Wilson and Martin Haggett. They were on it all day, enjoying the fight in the class and taking victory along with 9th place on the overall leaderboard. And what a leaderboard to be inside the top 10. There was no change in the top of the BTRDA crews though. Elliot Payne and Patrick Walsh would have to settle for second place, finishing in 8th place overall amongst the other championship crews as well. Myron Evans and Jonathan Jackson would manage to gain a position through the afternoon, ending the rally in 7th in the Yaris. They would of course rather be fighting for podium positions, but it was a fairly unknown car to them and the team, and of course the whole of the UK. And at the moment it was all about seeing what the car was capable of and getting it set up. They're certainly taking on the development mantle at the moment before they can confidently fight for wins, but believe me, they're coming. Keeping hold of the BTRDA and Welsh Championship leads to the finish means that Matthew Hurst and Declan Deere score maximum points in both championships. They'd be glad of some good luck, finally. And although the first round of the BTRDA didn't quite go to plan, they were still going well at this early stage in the season as far as the championship points standings were concerned. One crew missing from the top of the leaderboard at this stage would be Keith Cronin and Mikey Galvin. They have to pull over midway through the Herring stage, changing a puncture. They lose a heck of a lot of time, falling right down the order into 19th place. No such drama for former Welsh, Scottish and BTRDA champion Gary Pearson. Dan Barrett alongside. They have a good steady run to take 5th place on the overall leaderboard by the end of the rally. James Williams and Ross Whittock, meanwhile, have a great afternoon to gain some time and move into 4th. A strong end to the rally. They'd be happy enough with the points tally from that finish. Someone that wasn't quite as happy with his finish, though, would be Chris Ingram with Alex Kirani alongside. They'd have much rather been in the number 1 spot again after the Legend Fires Northwest Stages, of course, but it wasn't to be on gravel this weekend. 3rd place was theirs. It was a long season and things had gone pretty well so far on reflection. For Will Crichton and Liam Regan, it would be a move into 2nd. A strong finish for the pair. They add to their BRC points total, 2nd on the event, and indeed lying 2nd in the championship with that result now as well. But taking an impressive and emphatic victory this weekend would be Oshan Price and Rodri Evans, making up for their disappointment of retirement on the Legend Fires Northwest Stages. They take victory by 20 seconds here on the Rallynuts Severn Valley Stages Rally. A great end to a tricky day in the forests. With that icy fog drawing in, most of our competitors will be pleased to have this rally behind them. Here's a look at how those overall times shaped up. Stay tuned to the Special Stage Rally Show coming up next. We've got action from the Irish Tarmac Rally Championship on the legendary Circuit of Ireland.
The Circuit of Ireland. It's one of the longest running events on the calendar and has seen some famous faces put their name on the trophy over the years. Billy Coleman, Jimmy McRae and Russell Brooks, just to name a few, with plenty of epic battles on those stages over the years. The current event may not have the marathon schedule of old, but that doesn't mean it won't be a challenge for the crews as they arrive in Dungannon for round 3 of the 2024 Irish Tarmac Rally Championship. On to the first of the day's stages then, and for winners last time out Keith Cronin and Mikey Galvin, it'd be the early lead. They went out on the wrong tyre, but with the mixed conditions there probably wasn't a good choice that suited everything anyway. Matt Edwards and Dave Moynihan would be finding it hard work to push on the stages as much as they wanted. The mud on the road already causing everyone to have to back off. With their great result in West Cork putting their championship back on track, they wouldn't want to throw it away this weekend. The gap to the lead after 2 stages, just 0.6 seconds. Callum Devine and Noel O'Sullivan would be a little slower than they wanted through stage 1, the car briefly cutting out. Thankfully though on a straight, and they didn't lose too much momentum. They end stage 2 in 3rd. As far as rally driver excuses go, Josh Moffat and Andy Hayes had a good one that no one would believe if it wasn't caught on fan cam. They got held up on the stage after some cows got loose and found their way onto the road. They'd lose a handful of time, but they do get it adjusted later and end stage 2 in 4th overall. Johnny Greer and Niall Burns would also be struggling in the muddy stages, just not able to get enough temperature into the tyres to let them push on the dry sections. But with it being the same for everyone, it was still a good start to the event in 5th. Desi Henry and Shane Byrne felt they went too brave with the setup in the car this morning and that it wasn't transferring into bravery on the stages in these conditions. They'd have to be happy with 6th place for now. Cahan McCourt and Brian Hoy join us for this round. Having not been out in the Rally 2 car since last year, they were gaining confidence back slowly, but bouncing off the scenery in a few places in the process too. Someone else who hadn't been out for a while, Gary Jennings and Rory Kennedy. So this weekend was a baptism of fire for them. They were betting themselves in and trying to pick up the pace as the morning went on. 9th place overall at this stage would be the first of our modified crews, Jason Black and Carl Egan. They hadn't been out since Ulster last year, but they were going well. They would get held in stage 2 and not get a time when they came across an accident, but it was the same for everyone around them. That accident, of course, of Alan Carmichael and Ivor Lamont crashing the Hyundai out on stage 2 and sadly going no further this weekend. And another to get held up at that accident would be the second of our modified crews at this stage, Mark Alcorn and Darren Curran. They were finding it hard to push when you don't know the stages, commenting that a local could certainly find some more time in there. Third of the modified crews this morning would be Damien Toner and Aidan Gallagher. The medium tyres on the back of the car were not right for the conditions, but as we had seen from the others, there really wasn't a tyre choice that was right. So with 2 stages complete here on the Circuit of Ireland, the results at the top are looking like this. On to the next pair of stages, and we'd unfortunately lose Callum Devine and Noel O'Sullivan. A crash out of the event on stage 3 caught here on fan cam. A disappointing start to the season for the pair. That though didn't affect the battle for the lead, other than slowing Keith Cronin and Mikey Galvin briefly as they passed the car of Devine. They were managing things now. The risk of not scoring any points was too much if they tried to push too hard. That lead was a small one now, smaller than after stage 2, just 0.2 of a second difference between Cronin and the Fiesta of Matt Edwards and Dave Moynihan. There wasn't a lot of room for error on these stages, so the times were going to be close throughout the day.
And down 130, chicane over junction, 2 wheels, right entry.
Josh Moffat and Andy Hayes were continuing to find the mixed conditions tricky. Dry 1 minute and able to have a good push, and then wet and muddy in the next part. And just having to pick their way through, they end the morning in third. A similar story for Johnny Greer and Niall Burns. They were lacking that bit of confidence when they came round a corner to find mud on the road. Most of the stages were dry, but it was hard to push when you don't know where to expect the bad bits. Desi Henry and Shane Byrne were feeling better in their car now. There were plenty of bad places on the stages, but they had most of them noted, so they felt okay pushing where they could, ending the morning in 5th. Cahan McCourt and Brian Hoy were taking time to get back into it, not doing anything silly and trying to keep it in a straight line. They keep a good pace though in 6th. Bad luck for Gary Jennings and Rory Kennedy. A puncture in stage 4 would see them drop some time and spin them off the road in a muddy section. Thankfully they managed to avoid any serious damage this time round and still go well into 7th. Jason Black and Carl Egan were pushing where they could, but still didn't feel they had full commitment on the fastest sections. They continued to lead the modified crews though, and with 10 seconds of an advantage now. With no service between the stages this morning, it meant that crews like Mark Alcorn and Darren Curran were on the wrong tyres all morning, so they were finding it hard to push. Still second place overall for now though in the modified. And exactly the same story for Damien Toner and Aidan Gallagher. They end the morning in 3rd in the modified and rounding out the top 10 overall. So, with the morning loop complete and the crews off to make some very important changes, here are the results at the top. On to the afternoon, and one of the best decisions of the rally has to go to Matt Edwards and Dave Moynihan. They head out with 2 wet tyres on the back of that car, and with the storm clouds looming, they changed onto them for stage 6, putting in a fantastic time to take the lead of the event now by 5.9 seconds. In contrast, Keith Cronin and Mikey Galvin would get caught out on a cut slick in these stages, and when the heavens opened, all they could do was to hang on to second place. Disappointing to lose the lead, but very much still in the fight. In the first stage of the afternoon, Josh Moffat and Andy Hayes were having problems with tyres overheating. A little rain would certainly help that out, but the downpour that they got was certainly more than a little rain. They got through it without taking any risks, and at least the tyres were no longer getting hot. Unfortunately, we'd lose Johnny Greer and Niall Burns in this pair of stages. They crash out of the event close to the start of stage 6, all okay, but going no further. Desi Henry and Shane Byrne felt like they weren't having a good run and felt like they were dropping time, but they end stage 6 in 4th now, helped of course with the loss of Greer. That place would actually be one they shared with Cahan McCourt and Brian Hoy. They reached the end of stage 6 level on times with the Citroen pair ahead. Such close competition after so many miles of very tricky conditions. Gary Jennings and Rory Kennedy were settling into a pace that they were comfortable with now, knowing that a fight for the win was off the cards, especially due to that earlier puncture. So they were just getting through now and looking for a good finish. The downpour in these stages would have been bad enough in a 4-wheel drive car, but for our modified crews who got caught in it, like Jason Black and Carl Egan, it would have been tough. Those wipers not even fully able to clear the window at times. They still lead the way though for now. And no change either for Mark Alcorn and Darren Curran. Second place was still theirs. It felt like a terrible run once the rain came, leaving the stages like ice, but it was the same for everyone. Damien Toner and Aidan Gallagher backed off a little, it would be all too easy to throw it away in weather and conditions like these. They still hold on to third place in the modifieds though. And rounding out the top 10 now were Conor Murphy and Sean Collins, struggling to see the road ahead at times, but getting through in one piece. So before we take a look at the final class and overall results, here's a reminder of those times at the top here at round 3. On to the overall and modified results then, and rounding out the top 10 would be Conor Murphy and Sean Collins. They just got through those final stages to make sure they reached the finish and took 4th in the modifieds in the process. 2 punctures over the course of the rally would have added to the overall times for Joe McGonigal and Kieran Geeney, but they were happy with how the weekend went, enjoying those stages and getting to the finish in one piece and in 9th overall. Damien Toner and Aidan Gallagher would end the event in 3rd in the modifieds. They were glad to get to the finish and happy enough with how it went. With a big gap to the leaders, Mark Alcorn and Darren Curran decided to just back off in the last 2 stages and maintain that 2nd place. It worked as far as the plan, taking 2nd in the modified, but they'd be regretting that choice a bit by the finish. The reason for that is modified leaders Jason Black and Carl Egan would go into the final stage with a good enough advantage, but get a puncture, dropping them a lot of time. Thankfully for them though, they still managed to take the win just by 3.1 seconds. Alcorn would surely be wondering what could have been if they hadn't backed off.
4, long, flat to right then, 80, start on scene, square left, into, flat to left, 60 up middle, square right, don't cut, 80.
Back to the overall results, and for Gary Jennings and Rory Kennedy, a 5th place finish. A shame about that earlier puncture, but they enjoyed it and saw some good times on their first outing in quite a while. But the drama wasn't over just yet, with the final stage throwing another change into the results. We lose Desi Henry and Shane Byrne when they go off the stage, unable to continue. Cahan McCourt and Brian Hoy would have to slow a little for the stricken Henry, but happy enough with the pace in the final stages and delighted to be taking 4th this weekend. Josh Moffat and Andy Hayes still felt there was work to be done on the car if they were going to be fighting with the leaders. They were close but not quite there yet. They do finish on the podium in 3rd as well as the fastest Citroen, which means they do pick up some prize money. After losing out in the tyre lottery this afternoon, it'll be a 2nd place finish for Keith Cronin and Mikey Galvin. They had too much to lose by pushing, and 2nd place points were still going to be valuable in the championship with so long to go. That of course means it's the win for Matt Edwards and Dave Moynihan. It had been a long time since Matt had won an event in a Rally 2 car, Ulster 2021 to be exact, so the win would be welcome for the confidence as well as putting their championship back on track for the season.
Leftish to stop. Good man. Whatever it will be. Well done, lad. Can't do anymore.
So, after round 3 of the Irish Tarmac Rally Championship, the results look like this.
Well, from the gravel of the Rallynuts Severn Valley stages to the iconic Irish lanes of the Circuit of Ireland, we're not having such a bad Friday night of rally entertainment here on the Special Stage Rally Show, aren't we? Now time for something a little different altogether as we wrap up with the final rounds of the MGJ Engineering Circuit Rally Championship. Spoiler alert, the best racetrack in the world is coming up.
The Alan Healy Memorial Rally will be the penultimate round of the MGJ Engineering Circuit Rally Championship. And with that title fight already decided at Donington Park, it would give some of the other crews perhaps a chance to shine on that overall leaderboard here at Cadwell Park. For our newly crowned champions Michael Igo and Will Atkins though, there'd be no letting up. It was about settling a score. They hadn't gone well here in the Lincolnshire Wolds in the past. In fact, disaster had struck on both their previous attempts. So they'd be looking to put those demons behind them and get a good result this weekend. And it was going well so far. The lead after the morning's stages, but we had been here before. It wasn't a big lead either. In fact, it wasn't always a lead. Paul Murrow and Craig Simkis get to the midpoint of the day with second place, but they had in fact been in the lead of the rally over the first 3 stages of the morning with a cracking performance out of the blocks. This weekend, with a lack of four-wheel drive cars on the entry, it would be a chance for drivers like Alistair Stables and Neil Jones to get up onto that overall podium, and that was exactly what the target was. It's also where they started the day. 3rd place after 4 stages was good going in that Chevette, which is always a crowd pleaser and no different today. For Tony Robinson and Paul Spooner, it would be 4th, just 6 seconds behind the Chevette up ahead. But they'd been ahead at one point, and they'd be trying to get back into that podium position once again. The fight well and truly on. For James Garner and Jordan Joins, in that former championship winning Darien, it would be 5th place for now. 20 seconds back from Stables in the class, as they lie 2nd in the class for now. And 3rd in that class will be Stephen Sawley and Rob Johnson, themselves 25 seconds back from the Darien up ahead, looking like a bit of a missile here today. The time's opening up a little in the class. And in Class D, it would be the lead for Ken Sturdy, with former championship-winning co-driver Tom Hutchings alongside. Ken out in the Vauxhall-engined Avenger this weekend, and with Tom alongside, the pair's local round of the series, and they've been looking forward to this. 7th overall for now after a big push, and they were in that class lead. The IT Spectrum pair couldn't relax though. The class lead was far from safe. They'd have only a second of an advantage over the escort of Alex Stubbs and Rhys Edwards, who end the morning 2nd in the class, 8th overall, Red Mist descending. In Class E, meanwhile, it will be the lead for Joseph and Daniel Duffy in the Lotus Elise. A great start for the pair, really adding to the variety of cars and classes, filling up the top of the results here at the penultimate round. And Cadwell Park, well, that's the perfect venue for a Lotus. Rounding out the top 10 will be Nigel Greensall and Graham Wild, the Toyota pair, also rounding out the podium positions in Class D as well with 3rd. So the morning stage is complete here at Cadwell Park. Here's a reminder of how that leaderboard is shaping up. On to our top 10 finishers then, and in 10th place it will be Alex Stubbs and Rhys Edwards, dropping a couple of positions overall to end the rally there, and with 4th place in Class D as well. 3rd place in that class, and just above on the overall leaderboard will be Nigel Greensall and Graham Wild, 9th place in the Toyota GT86. A fantastic and, as ever, very sideways and entertaining performance from Ken Sturdy and Tom Hutchings, but frustratingly for them, not the class victory that they'd been looking for all morning, and indeed looked like they were on for. They end the rally 8th place overall, 2nd in the class. There's no change in the lead of Class E though. Joseph and Daniel Duffy having a great run and ending the event with 7th place on the overall leaderboard in that Lotus Elise. When was the last time you saw a Lotus Elise in the top 10 of a rally? Jamie McBain and Harry Walshaw take the Class D win this weekend. A good afternoon on the stages sees them climb up the leaderboard to take 6th place overall and taking that first in Class D. Stephen Sawley and Rob Johnson would be a little bit lucky through the final stage of the event, clipping some tyres on this fast section of stage. Only minimal cosmetic damage to take home with them and sort, thankfully for them. They do take 3rd place in Class C and 5th overall home as well though. And despite a big push and a Vauxhall Chevette sitting in 3rd place overall on a rally leaderboard at some points of the day, it wasn't to be for Alistair Stables and Neil Jones. That podium place that they'd so wanted just slipped away. Back on the results after some hard charging competition through the afternoon into 4th place overall. Still an impressive finish, and just missing out on the podium by 10 seconds at the end of the day. That, of course, if you've been following, means that James Garner and Jordan Joins overtook them on the times, jumping into that podium spot and getting that former championship-winning Darien back onto a podium here in the Circuit Rally Championship. And, of course, taking with it the Class C lead. A class victory and their first podium of the season here at the penultimate round. Disaster would strike though for Paul Murrow and Craig Simkis, an oil pipe coming loose and causing a fairly serious engine fire, albeit it would have been a lot more serious without the presence of a fire stick inside that Fiesta R5. retirement on the afternoon stages after a stellar performance. But that does give Tony Robinson and Paul Spooner a leg up on the leaderboard into second place overall and indeed in the class. But taking victory and proving that they could, after all, get a decent result here at Cadwell Park were Michael Igoe and Will Atkins, adding another victory to an already fantastic season for the pair. Could they make it one more at the final round at Anglesey Circuit? It's all about the seat time, and it's all about preparing for a title defence next season now for Igoe and Atkins. So with the penultimate round of the MGJ Engineering Circuit Rally Championship over for another season, here's a reminder of those overall times and indeed the leaderboard here for the Alan Healy Memorial Rally, organised by Border Motor Club here at Cadwell Park. The Ultratech SMC Stages here at Anglesey marks the season finale in the MGJ Engineering Circuit Rally Championship. And the title fight may well be sewn up, but there were still plenty of crews here to enjoy a gloves-off rally to end the circuit rally season. And of course, there are a few matters of class championships to round off. One of those crews, though, here for a last blast will be our newly crowned champions, Michael Igoe and Will Atkins. They may have won the title overall, but they still wanted some more event wins under their belts and, more importantly, perhaps at this stage, some more seat time. They have a good clean run to end the morning with a minute's advantage. Second place will be Paul Murrow and Craig Simkis. They would have been a little closer to our leaders, perhaps, but they make a small mistake on the opening stage, ending up in a stack of tyres. It wasn't a big hit, but they would lose a handful of time getting the car going again. They weren't the only ones to hit the tyres either. Mark Jasper and Don Wyatt will be out this weekend for the first time in the left-hand drive Skoda. They hadn't quite got used to being on the opposite sides of the car, perhaps. They do some damage to the car as well as taking a puncture with them, meaning they have to stop and would drop right down the order as a result. For Will Owen and Chloe Thomas, it will be third place overall at this stage. They were staying out of trouble, having a good run to end the morning inside the podium positions. It was a good start to the rally as well for Richard Merriman and Kath Curzon. The pair hadn't been out since last year. In fact, an accident at this venue the last time they were out was the last thing we remember. Probably them too. So this was an even better start than they could have hoped for. They lie in fourth overall. The results will be close in the Battle of the Darians as well. Regular championship crew James Garner and Jordan Joins just behind Merriman. 1 second behind, in fact, and climbing the results as the morning went on. So that was looking good for a change in position and perhaps a bit of a battle going into the afternoon stages. It was a new car this weekend for Kyron Hankin and James Swallow. We know the Citroën is capable of good results. Their first test in the car wasn't their best though. Our champions have just won in one of these, but it was taking this pair a little time to get used to it after changing from the Peugeot. We did see it briefly at Snetterton, of course. They end the morning with 6th. Alistair Stables and Neil Jones were having another good run in that fantastic looking Chevette. They end the morning 7th place overall, 3rd in the class for now. And just behind them in the class and overall results at this stage will be Craig Camsholt and Mark Crisp. The Escort pair only 2 seconds back as well, so the fight was on for the afternoon. Martin and Jason Davies were hovering around the 9th position mark for the morning. The time's looking good. The pair end the morning with 2nd in the class as well. And they were just a single second behind the Class C Escort pair up ahead. And rounding out the top 10 would be Peter Elkins and Andrew Joel. The pair bringing out the Fiesta WRC this weekend. A rare sight and sound on the stages these days, but great to see them going well. And here's a reminder of those overall results after stage 4 of the Ultratech SMC Stages, the final round of the MGJ Engineering Circuit Rally Championship. We're on to the top 10 then, And there'd be plenty of change here. Alistair Stables and Neil Jones, unfortunately for them, dropping down a few positions to take that 10th spot. Keeping hold of 3rd in Class D though as well. They actually finish on an identical time to the crew up ahead. So that 10th place was actually a joint 9th. For Peter Elkins and Andrew Joel, it will be a single position gained, moving up to 9th place to end the rally in that WRC Fiesta. Chris Berry and Lewis Griffiths, meanwhile, would go one better, equal on times with the Fiesta pair this morning, but they jump ahead by the finish to take 8th overall, 10 seconds ahead by the finish, also taking 3rd in Class C with that result. And just 3 seconds ahead of them on the timesheets will be Craig Campschultz and Mark Crisp, the pair taking 2nd in Class D from 7th overall. 2nd place in Class C will be where Martin and Jason Davies stayed all day. Even if they were moving up and down the overall leaderboard, they'd gain a few positions to end the rally with 6th. However, it was a time they shared, so it would actually be joint 5th by the end of the rally, showing just how close this top 10 was today. 2 joint positions. And sharing that position with them would be Kyron Hankin and James Swallow, the pair getting more used to the car as the day went on. Hopefully with some more seat time. They'll be challenging for overall victories if they return next season, and we'll be looking forward to seeing that unfold. Plenty more entertainment, but no change through the afternoon for the top 4 positions. Richard Merriman and Kath Curzon continue to lead the way in Class C, taking victory there and 4th overall. In the podium positions, it will be 3rd for Will Owen and Chloe Thomas. And that fantastic finish would also see the pair taking victory in Class D. For Paul Moreau and Craig Simkis, though, it will be 2nd place. Hitting the tyres this morning lost them some valuable time, but that wasn't going to change today's result either way. They finished with 2nd overall, 2 minutes back from our rally leaders. And that means that Michael Igo and Will Atkins add a final victory to the tally from this round, making it to the finish with a good enough advantage to put another maximum score on the board, even if it wasn't needed. Their championship, of course, already secured. So with the final round of the MGJ Engineering Circuit Rally Championship complete, here's a reminder of those overall results here at Anglesey. The SMC Stages would be the first time this season on the asphalt for the Mini Rally Challenge. And it would be well supported too. 16 mini crews taking to the start line for a mini adventure here at Anglesey Circuit. Sorry about the mini adventure thing, had to squeeze it in somewhere. Taking the early lead will be George Clark and Stephen Moises. The pair start the day as they mean to go on as well, and despite a few battles along the way, they'd end the morning with a 38-second lead. They had been in a good fight with Jacob Neal and Russell Thompson, but brake problems will be hampering this pair in the morning. Smoke pouring from the brakes at times, but worse was to come when their head gasket went on stage 4, putting them out of the rally. 2nd place now then would be in the hands of Guy Butler and Oliver Waggett. They'd had a bit of an advantage in that position themselves, a comfort margin of 24 seconds over 3rd place. They were using it well. And in that 3rd place were Wesley Guilford and Andrew Millington. The unusual thing about that was the pair were only in one of the R50 Minis, the entry-level category, and they were mixing it with the higher-powered R53 cars. Not that they were complaining, of course, as they had to settle into that final step on the podium and in the class lead. They'd have to keep an eye on their rear-view mirrors, though, figuratively speaking, as Tony Webb and David Robinson were not far behind. Just 8 seconds the difference. They'd, of course, have that podium in their sights as they go into the afternoon stages here at Anglesey. Martin Williams and Martin Allwood would have a bit of an issue with the car cutting out. Thankfully, before the stage and not on it. They end the morning 5th place overall. And Gareth Humphries with Adam Burkill alongside must have thought he was in a classic Mini and not an R53, forgetting how wide the car was and clipping a tractor tyre on the 2nd stage, damaging the steering in the process. They do get the car through the stage and back to service. for the service crew to get to work on getting them back out on the stages once again. For Mark Turner and Robert Wiggins, it would be 7th place overall. They were 18 seconds off Humphreys up ahead, but they'd have to keep an eye behind them on those results, because chasing them down would be this man, Jack Birch, Mike Joad alongside. They were going well. They'd had their fair share of problems, breaking a shock, for example, on the first stage of the day, but thankfully managing to get a new one from a fellow competitor. Such is the camaraderie as well as the competition in this championship. They get back out to lie in 8th place by the midpoint of the rally, 2nd of the R50 crews at this stage as well. And 3rd place in our R50 crews here in the Mini Rally Challenge were Owen Kuehl and Matthew Walk. They had around a minute to Birch up ahead, so it would be a big ask to take that position through the afternoon on stage times alone. But we all know that, well, anything could happen, particularly on a rally like this one here at Anglesey. Rounding out the top 10 for now will be Florence Butler and Paul Stringer. Florence stepping up from the juniors to compete in selected rounds of the series this year, and clearly going well, as you can see. 7 seconds back, just outside the top 10, will be Mark Christopher and Kevin Watkins. Meanwhile, though, the pair 4th in the R50 class, 11th place overall. John Clayton and Christian Brown had been near the top of the leaderboard at the start of the day, but unfortunately for them, they'd take up ploughing on stage 4, getting stuck on the wet grass and dropping down the results to 12th overall. Clayton and Brown were one pair getting away with just a bit of time lost, but it wasn't the same story for Tom Hind. They'd had a few teething issues, but the real problem will be the clutch going on stage 2, putting an early end to their rally. So the morning stage is complete. Here's how the leaderboard is shaping up in the Mini Rally Challenge. Back out onto the afternoon stages then here at Anglesey, and there'd be a few positions dropped for Florence Butler and Paul Stringer. They'd had a few issues with fuel through the afternoon, ending the rally with 13th place. For Kevin Ablett and Graham Child, it would be a place gained in the afternoon, ending the day with 12th on the leaderboard. And just ahead on the overall and class results will be Mark Christopher and Kevin Watkins. They take 11th place overall here at round 2. On to the top 10, and it would be that 10th place finish for John Day and William Brown. They gained 4 positions through the afternoon to get a good result this weekend. It was a similar story as well, smiles all round for John Clayton and Christian Brown, the pair moving their way up the overall results into 9th place this weekend. This is rallying though, and the afternoon stages wouldn't be kind to everyone. We'd lose Jack Birch and Mike Joad. They were so close to a good result when the clutch gave up on the final stage of the rally, giving the crew a non-finish. That, though, would play into the hands of a few crews, not least Owen Kuehl and Matthew Walk. They gain a position overall to take 8th. That enough for 2nd in the R50 category here in the Mini Rally Challenge as well. Gareth Humphreys and Adam Burkill, meanwhile, will be having a few issues with the fueling in the car, but they do manage to get through the afternoon stages just. Only 1 place dropped as well, taking 7th. And gaining that position that the previous crew had now vacated due to those issues with the fueling will be Mark Turner and Robert Wiggins. A bit of stage time merit thrown in there for good measure as well. It wasn't all good luck. They'd be happy to take 6th place overall this weekend, just 2 seconds in it by the finish as well. And the newly built car went well all day for Martin Williams and Martin Allwood. They were able to take 5th place overall by the end of the rally. There was frustration, though, for Wesley Guilford and Andrew Millington. Despite a valiant effort, it wasn't the overall podium position they came here looking for, or indeed looked like they were on for. They dropped down a place into 4th, but the real battle was in the R50 class, and it's safe to say that they did everything they needed to secure that class win today, and with it, a very impressive eyebrow-raising finish as well. We're on to the podium positions then, and it would be a 3rd place finish for Tony Webb and David Robinson, gaining that position to finish with a strong result and some good points on the board, perhaps more importantly here at round 2. No change though to second place. Guy Butler and Oliver Waggett still hard charging and remaining there throughout the afternoon. More than happy with their result, getting the most out of the tyres as well. Well, there wasn't much left on them by the end of the rally. So that means that taking victory here in the Mini Rally Challenge will be George Clark and Stephen Moises. They keep hold of their commanding lead throughout the day, taking those maximum points to add to their tally here at Anglesey. Another entertaining day, and round 2 of the Mini Rally Challenge comes to a close. Here's a reminder of those overall results. Next up, our crews head to the Isle of Man for the Manx Rally, a real test of crew and car, and a legendary place to do battle for round 3. And that's it for this episode of the Special Stage Rally Show in association with the Mini Rally Challenge. We'll see you again for another action-packed show in a month's time. Meanwhile, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the stages.
Here, 40 for Rateable Crest Titans.